Welcome everybody to my new video. This video is about migration and giving thanks. Migration, because migration is happening a lot right now. A lot of people coming from Southern America, a lot of people from Europe, especially with this war that is happening. A lot of citizens do not know sometimes why we had to migrate. And for that reason, I wanted to share my own experience of why I have migrated to this country, why I chose, or why I decided to come to this country, and hope that can also change some of the mind of some of the people that think negative about migration. So also, I wanted to share it these days because it's to give thanks to the Native American, to give thanks for accepting us, give thanks to the citizens that we are part of this country. And so I wanted to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, and hope you can share my video with a lot of people so they get to know the reason of why some of the people migrated for certain reason. Sometimes a reason could be really, really deep inside. Like some people migrate because they wanted to save their life. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. But you won't understand it until you experience it. If you haven't migrated, of course, you're not going to know, you're not going to feel the same experience. But once you have migrated from one place to another place, you know the experience. Maybe you had not, but your parents had. So you should ask your parents why they have migrated to this country. I'll leave you with my video. Please share it with others. Happy Thanksgiving. This is the part that we gotta know why people migrate, why people had to move from one place to another place. I think one of my stories will be kind of helpful to share why I decided to come, you know. So when I was young, of course, in Mexico, as you mostly know, I guess, Mexico, some of the places are very, very poor. And so for example, where I am from the state of Oaxaca, Puebla, Guerrero, Chiapas, so those are states that are very poor, especially Oaxaca. I'm from Oaxaca, Mexico, southern of Mexico. At the age of 12, 13, I was living by myself. Were you living by yourself? Could you live by yourself? I was living by myself with nobody else. And my parents barely have food, money for me. So I barely have food, clothing, shoes, and all those things. By the age of 15, I decided to come to the United States. It's not that I wanted to, but I felt like I had to. Those are the two different things. I really didn't want to come. But before that, at the age of 12, 13, 14, it was really hard for me. It was really, really hard for me because I had to travel from one place to another place. Somehow I was living with my sister at one time, but then because she has to also go from the city where she was living to travel like 2 hours away to go teach, and then come back. She will go teach during the weekdays and then come back in the weekends for place. And then for some reason, she would just leave me out there, and then I had to come by myself. So imagine yourself at the age of 12, and then travel back by yourself. I mean, right here, parents don't allow kids to go by themselves that age. In Mexico, you had to really learn. I had to really learn and be strong. Travel with the truck drivers, hitchhiking. One of them actually told me, they said, you shouldn't be doing this because this is very dangerous. They might not stop at where you want them to stop. And it is the truth. I had to walk from one place to another place so I can get a hitchhiking from the truck drivers from that place all the way to where I had to go to school, where my sister works. I had to have faith on me. I had to believe in God. That's the most powerful thing for me. Believe in God that you're gonna be safe, believe in yourself that you're gonna be strong and you're gonna be okay. That's how my life was. Sleep on the street, walking at midnight, at those young ages. It was tough, but I had to really be strong. That's what life taught me, how to be strong. I was still very shy, but I was strong from inside. I don't know why I was so scared of speaking, but I was strong in myself inside, I believe in myself. So when I decided to come to the United States, Like I said, I felt like I didn't have a choice. My parents didn't want me to go to school in Mexico anymore because, of course, they didn't have any money. My dad, it hurts me when my dad said, he said, you know what, your brothers can't go to school. You are a female, so I can afford for you to go to school. That's like, wow. So for that reason, I decided to come to the United States. My older sister is coming to the United States, and she encouraged me to come with her. I didn't want to. She kept on saying, come with me, come with me. And I thought about it a lot at the last 4 weeks that she was coming. Should I go, should I go, should I go, should I go? What am I gonna do here? Thought about it a lot. What am I gonna do here if my parents not gonna allow me to go anyplace else? Because they don't have money, they're not gonna support me. So I was like, okay, my best choice is to go with my sister. I'm sure that there's a better opportunity. That's what I thought. So I decided to come. When I decided to come, that night when I left home, I cried. I cried. I really cried. Hide my head underneath of a sheet, and I cried like a baby. I didn't want to come, because I didn't want to come. Especially when I was crossing as an undocumented. As a lot of people come, They come here for a better opportunity. They're willing to risk. Some people don't make it. I heard some of my relatives never been found. I had no idea what happened. I didn't know where it was coming. I didn't know what was going to happen with me. Across the border, walking nights and days for almost a week. We got lost in the desert of Arizona. That's where I crossed. And we didn't have any food. There were 11 of us. I was the youngest one, I guess. There were 4 women and 6 men. 2 of the men really struggled. Some of them I heard, because I was young, my sister was the one that was responsible for me. So I didn't have any decision except just following what she was doing. And so 2 of the men, I remember that they were struggle. The 3rd day walking, I remember that clearly because we left on Monday and we got to where we were going until Friday morning. So they were giving up. We were lost. We had to drink dirty waters on the pond that we found through our road in order for us to survive. We didn't have any food. We had to eat cactus on the desert, cactus fruits, in the desert in order for us to survive. One of the men said, I can no longer keep on walking. I'm so tired. We couldn't leave him. But you know what happened to the borders? Sometimes they will leave somebody behind. It's so sad, and then you don't know what's going to happen. Those are the things that we face when we cross over. Did I want that? Of course I didn't want that. Did I ever want it to come that way? No, of course I didn't want to. I always wanted to come to this country, but in a different way, Before I decided to come, I always dreamed of coming to this country to get to know this country, but in a different way, legal way, what we call it. We don't know why each individual had their own reason why they had to risk their life all the way to come to this country. Because we heard of a better opportunity, we heard of easier way of earning money. Maybe it's not an easier way of earning money, but what makes a difference for Mexican people? I can just talk about Mexican people because I am from Mexico. I'm sure that's very similar to all other countries that migrated to this country. Right now, up to right now, because we have a better president, we can earn 300 pesos. Do you know how much 300 pesos is? Any idea? That sounds a lot. 300 pesos, like, woo! $15 per day. That's how much it is compared in the US dollar. $15 per day. So who would risk their life to come to this country if you can earn $15 per hour? You see how huge difference it is. Mm? So that's why people say, okay, I mean, it's worthy to make it over there. That's the reason why people, I mean, imagine right now, they're making $15 per day. Imagine 20 years, 30 years ago, when we have a lot of corruption. Because, maybe because of the lack of education, lack of technology, lack of a lot of other resources for people to actually, to do something for themselves. That's what it's happening in a lot of other countries. That's why people migrated to this country. That's why Mexican people migrated to this country, because like I said, there isn't enough job for people to make good money. That's why they migrated. So this new president, I'm pretty happy with Lopez Obrador, because he's making a huge difference for the Mexican people. So because he doesn't want people to migrate to this country, and definitely that's not what we want. We want a better choice. We can come to this country to visit, not come to this country to work as a slave. That's the huge difference. I was a child when I came to this country. When you don't know how your country works with the law, and then come to this country and face a different law, because you're not even in your country, you don't even speak your language, you don't even see your community, so it's totally different. It's totally so hard, When I remember when I came in New York, when I stepped my foot in New York, I felt like I really want to go back to Mexico. I felt like I wanted to go back home. But what did I say in my mind when I left? I said, I never wanted to go back. I was so mad, angry, even though my parents hasn't much to do with my decision, because it was part of my decision. They didn't force me to come. Nobody forced me to come, but I felt like I needed to come for a better opportunity. So when I was in New York, the first time, I didn't like it. It was cold, it was snowing, it was freezing. I was like, and then I didn't see anybody from my community. That was over 30 years ago. And I was like, wow, I felt so isolated, so lonely. I wanted to go back home. I was like, what am I doing here? But then I remember myself, why I came. I was like, no, I gotta stay even though if I don't like it. I gotta stick where I came from. When you come here, like I said, you don't know the law in your country because you're so young. You come here in different country and you have no idea how the law works. Especially when you come as an undocumented. Other people scare you. You don't want to do anything strange. You don't want to speak up. Just hide it yourself, be as a slave, and nobody will bother you. If you speak up, if you do something different, we can call the police and you get out of this country. So they plant fear on you. That's how I felt. You cannot speak up. You cannot take any actions or anything. So you had to stay quiet and everything will be fine. That was my life. Abuses in the field. There's a lot of abuses happening. When I first came in this country, I ended up working in Ohio. That was my first place to work, pick tomatoes, like in the photo. It's really hard, really hard. For me, it was really hard. At that young age and work as an adult. Fill the buckets and then throw it or lift it up at least so the guys can catch it. And then empty, giving you a ticket and then keep on running. You have to really work so fast in order for you to make the day. If you don't work fast, the tractor's gonna leave you and then you're not gonna make it out. So that's why people had to really do things fast, because the buckets was so cheap and it's still so cheap up to this moment. Can you imagine? I mean, let's just say trade price would be 50 cents. How many of those you would do in order for you to make a day? You can do the math. That's how hard it is. That's why it is really hard, because you have to really bend yourself and do a lot of things, and it's very similar to all other type of jobs. So the place, when I came in Ohio, the first time in my life, I faced abuse, sexual abuse. Remember, I did not know any law. I was planning fear. It was really hard for me. A supervisor wanted to abuse me, sexually abuse me. Thank God he didn't get to me. But I mean, I felt like, can you imagine if I was raped? I didn't know what would happen to me. I was so embarrassed. I felt like everybody saw me. I didn't want to see anybody's face the next day. I was so embarrassed. You don't know the law. You've been living in fear. People have been teaching you not to speak up. So for that, I didn't even tell my sister and my brother. Never told them. Never. Up to now, they don't know. If only if they hear me speaking. Because I was so embarrassed to say what happened. This guy was trying to really abuse me. So I never spoke. I never knew that I had a right as a human being. Maybe not a right as a farm worker, but a right as a human being. That you know what? I can complain to a police that this guy was abusing me. That's how a lot of people go through and they don't speak up. Why? Because they say, okay, the police is gonna deport you, instead of protecting you. And sometimes it happens. The police sometimes don't care. They call immigration, and then the immigration, of course, pick you up and then deport you back to your country. So abuse never happens. Everybody clean their hands, and it's just history behind. Most of the people go through that way. That's why they don't call the police either. Up to now, abuse still happens. There's a lot of abuses. Because a lot of women are around, but very little percent compared to numbers of men in the field. So that's why sometimes it's not easy for female. 30 years ago, were a lot less numbers of women than what it is now. Maybe now it's going back. Because now we have a lot of H-2A workers, which is a guest workers, or visa workers that comes and works in the United States now. 30 years ago, there was a lot less number of H-2A workers. Now there's a lot more numbers. That's another issue. Everywhere I migrated, I faced those abuses. At work, at places where I stay, or at the camp, pretty much everywhere. I did not like this life.